recording scripts is actually a lot more difficult than I thought. I've been feeling a little lost with my art recently, and my art style feels like it doesn't quite fit anymore. I've been struggling with this for a while now, and although I've tried doing studies of other artists and just experimenting with my style on its own and trying to level it up through other studies like anatomy, which I've been doing a lot of recently, it just doesn't feel quite right anymore. I'm not sure what to focus on, and I'm not sure what I'm interested in, because there are so many things I want to do that it just ends up feeling overwhelming, and I don't really know what to work on. I've been trying different mediums to try to cope with this, and also just generally going back to the fundamentals to try and level up my art and find myself again, and also just consuming media and art from artists that inspire me and that I like to try to find my own style more. I like to start my longer sketchbook sessions with some figure drawing studies. I've been doing this for a couple months or maybe even a little over a year now, and I find it really helpful to both draw poses from imagination and also just understand form and movement better. I might actually do a video on how I study anatomy and do figure drawing studies in the future if you're interested. But for now, have this sketchbook session of me just doing some warm-ups with figure drawing studies. I've actually been going through this anatomy sketchbook really quickly. Recently I started it about a week ago and I'm already halfway through, so that's probably not gonna last. But I guess that's just the curse of being a traditional artist and having to buy a whole bunch of sketchbooks. I had an illustration idea recently with these two mermaid characters, and I was about to put it into Procreate because I do digital art sometimes as well. But then I decided, I was like, I want to make some OCs for this that are actually interesting. I want to give them a story. And I wanted to do a kind of goldfish-inspired character and a shark-inspired one. But then the problem is that I realized it reminds me a little too much of a certain webtoon that I do love a lot, but I do not want to even remotely... I mean, it's not really plagiarism, but I don't want it to be that similar. Same thing with a comic I wanted to start a while ago that it was a little too similar to The Last of Us, and I decided to scrap it. But I am working on one right now. Look out for it in the future. I'm not sure I'll actually end up using both of these designs, but I don't mind how they turned out. To be honest, I don't love the way this whole sketchbook session is going, although the deer painting in the back of this video went really well and I'm really happy with it. But I mean, I guess sometimes you just do not get the quality that you want, or it's just are not feeling right, or a little art blocked, but I find creating kind of still fun in its own way, even when it ends up like that. I'm hoping that sharing my art on this platform will actually help with my art journey. I've been wanting to get my art out there for a while now, but platforms like Instagram just don't seem to work for me, especially with the recent uprise of Reels. It can be incredibly frustrating, and though I've tried others like Cara and Tumblr, I just do not enjoy them and I can't manage to actually grow on them. So I'm hoping posting on YouTube will actually be a fun experience for me, which it has been so far, so I hope it continues that way. I still have a ways to go in terms of finding a YouTube personality and a video format that I enjoy making and is easier for me, but I think if I try hard enough I can probably get there eventually. I'm going to try posting just throughout this year at least, and probably more further on. You can actually still find me on image socials like Cara and Instagram at Doraemiro, the same as my YouTube handle. The name actually comes from musical notes, because Ray, I noticed, sounded like Ray the music notes, so I kind of just decided to go the full way, do re mi ro. Ro doesn't have any specific meaning, but I thought it could be fun to include in there. This is a Sona I designed a while ago, and it's basically this kind of beetle wizard. I'm not sure if I want to give them lore, but I might in the future. I might try to actually give them a full-on design and lore and put them into a little world of their own. I'm not really sure though. I'm planning on making some sprites with them in the future, and I think I'm actually gonna do a video of that because you know how sometimes art YouTubers have like a little sprite of their Sona in the corner of the video that has all these cute expressions. Yeah, I want to do that in the future. I am planning to show my face on here sometime, but just not yet, I don't think. But I think I will. I've been enjoying acrylic markers a lot recently, but honestly, I haven't quite found my style with them yet, so it can be quite difficult to like the way my pieces turn out. To be honest with you, yeah, I just don't really like how this page especially turned out. It might have to do with the fact that I decided to do line art with a pen in the end, which does not go that great with acrylic markers, or maybe I'm just not waiting long enough for them to dry or pressing too hard. I want to try doing it with pencils sometime, because I feel like if I do line art with the markers themselves, it ends up coming out a little too thick some of the time. You can get it to be thinner, but it's still kind of difficult. But I mean, there's often pressure for your sketchbooks to be pretty, and I used to feel like I had to like every piece of art that I created, but I've been trying to let go of that and just make art for fun and to relax sometimes. I'm also going back to school in a couple of weeks, so I wanted to make the best use of my time to create as much art before that and just have fun and relax and draw silly little bug wizards and cowboys and whatnot. I am absolutely drawing my cowboy C's on here, by the way. Finally getting to the deer painting. I have started this one. It depends what you want to consider starting it, because I had a sketch for this in my sketchbook that has been sitting there for a couple of months. It's also in my sketchbook tour in my other video, but I basically got a bigger canvas because this is, believe it or not, the biggest painting I've done so far. I know the canvas isn't actually that big, but I used to really struggle with painting with acrylics in general and kind of gave up on them for almost, I would say, years, honestly. But then in art school we ended up having to use acrylics, so eventually I did get past the hate stage and start loving them. I think that's a piece of advice for anyone. Just you know, if you hate a medium, you're not obliged to use it, obviously, but if it's something like acrylic that might actually be useful for working in big scale or whatnot, it can help to just kind of push past that at a certain point. Like, just force yourself to use the medium you don't like using, and you might end up loving it in the end. If you don't, well, at least you learned something new anyway. That might be not the best advice, but it helped me a little. So I'm finally working on it after a while. I did end up just making a grid to transfer it onto the canvas. I know it's not that big, but I'm still not used to working in big scale, so a grid does still help with that. And I did already do the sketch and the underpainting, as you can see here. And I started kind of just, don't have a clear pathway of how to use acrylic yet, so I'm just experimenting with it, as you can probably tell if you have used acrylics more quote-unquote professionally before, because I just started, I don't know, blocking out the colors, the lighter and darker parts, and then I started on the grass, and then I kind of started having a mental breakdown because I was really worried that the grass wasn't turned out, and I had no idea how to paint it. I have never painted grass with acrylics like in this kind of view before, yes. And I was just struggling for a while, but eventually I found a way to make it work. I ended up working in sort of layers of going from darker to lighter and leaving blank lines between them so you can actually still see the underpainting and like some of the base layer of grass I did in the beginning. But I do quite like how it turned out. And then I went back to the deer as well and just started blocking out more color and more specific I guess, shapes, and I didn't really do realistic fur. I'm not that into realism. I obviously appreciate it when other people do it, but it's just not something I'm interested in, because I would rather put my own spin on it and go more from my imagination. I actually enjoy doing this a lot, and I think I'm getting a lot better at using more vibrant colors, because I used to create art in terms of paint, where it was just so muted and very kind of monochrome colors, to the point where it was all just blending together and there was no contrast and they were so dull. So I'm glad I'm finally getting out of that rut and actually using more vibrant and interesting colors. Obviously I still have ways to go, but I actually do love acrylics and other paint now, especially gouache. I should paint with that on here sometime. I think I've learned to trust the process with painting a lot better, because it can seem very daunting and overwhelming when you start and it looks so ugly. Just honestly not very demure, not very mindful. But it is pretty in the end, and I do love how this piece is turning out. I was actually going to do some writing and put little stars on it in the end, but I got kind of overwhelmed and I was worried about ruining the painting, so I'm gonna push that off for now and just leave it until I'm feeling more confident. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed me rambling for a while and just creating some art today. I hope you've had fun with whatever projects you're working on, and make sure to just rest and actually have fun with your art, even if it's not turning out quite how you want it to, and just trust the process and enjoy the process of creation itself. Do subscribe and like if you actually enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you back here sometime. Bye.